Well, let's take a look at some wines here that you can find in potentially your market, but certainly in the UK market. And these tasting notes here will be at my examiner's notes of 5 Pinotage wines. So you can go out and buy these and taste them in your own time to actually match them against mine for your research and development, certainly if you are preparing for your WSET Level 3 or Diploma examination. The first wine we have here is the Bruce Jack Off the Charts Pinotage 2023. This is wine of origin Western Cape, but most of the fruit comes from the Breedekloof. Here you'll find that the production methods from Bruce Jack and Marlies Bayers is that we have destemmed whole berries that are cold soaked for 14 days with a 14-day fermentation. There was 2-week skin maceration, and 20% of the wine was aged in new and old oak for 12 months, meaning that 80% is in stainless steel. Now, very key things to note here, first of all, is the use of whole berries. That's going to produce brightness and freshness in the wine, elevating that real kind of red fruit character because you have whole berries going through localized carbonic macerations. And then very limited amounts of oak. So this is mainly stainless steel, very keenly priced at about sort of £15 and at really a manageable 13.5% alcohol. Look out for this wine at Wine Republic and the Fine Wine Company. Lovely transparency in this wine, being pale ruby, so easy transparency. We're not looking at medium at all, and there is no development of the colour. 2 marks there. The intensity is gorgeous on this wine. It's not concentrated, but it's aromatic and really capturing a lot of lovely esters on the nose, lots of lovely aromatics. So medium or medium plus intensity, but I found it slightly developing. Now, this is interesting because on Pinotage, there is often a propensity to show tertiary compounds at an earlier stage. It might be an earthiness, a tar-like characteristic, or a leather. Now, some people put this down as a potential fault because the wine is being made from sort of fruit that's been either overtly heat treated in the vineyard and in the winery, as I mentioned earlier in the previous presentation, or it could be that it just develops quicker, something like one of its parents do, actually both of its parents, Pinot Noir and Sanso. Expect characters here that are floral based, like rose, lots of red fruit, red currant, raspberry, strawberry, with a little hint of blueberry. That red fruit can be a little bit jammy at times, a bit of kirsch, but really on the manageable side, with a little bit of hint of, say, mint or tomato leaf and some minerality that comes through. Really quite pleasing on the nose. Little bit of like a green resinous cedar to it, which is wonderfully woven into this wine. So deft amounts of that, and that little bit of leather and earthiness just coming through. Hence why I mentioned that this is developing on that previous slide. Now, you must get 5 of those that I've mentioned if you are looking at the WSET Diploma markings. The taste here is quite lovely. So dry, good acidity at medium plus, very soft on its tannins, nothing been added from oak, and a shorter maceration time. So low and medium minus tannin, medium alcohol, medium minus bodied, medium flavor intensity, but a medium plus finish. It's a wine that has a delicacy, a gentleness, a fragrance, and a bit of a saltiness throughout. We copy and paste the wines on the palate. So the same characteristics there on the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. Of course, you have the luxury of pausing this if you are marking it against your own notes. And the quality assessment here is that I think this, for the price point, is really, really a good wine. So I gave this certainly for balance and intensity. I wouldn't say it's complex, and I wouldn't say it's got the length, but at its price point, it's fantastic. I think it's a brilliant wine for Generation Z and X because it has approachability, friendliness, sexy labeling, screw cap. I think it's a great wine. It's not going to break the bank. So drink now I wouldn't age it because I think it doesn't have the structure, but I think it's great in the next few years, certainly. So a lovely wine from Bruce Jack. Next up is another exciting wine. This is the Olifantsberg Pinotage with a bit more age. It's the 2021 vintage, exclusively from the wine of origin Breedekloof at really good altitude, so 250 to 450 meters on the slopes of the Olifantsberg mountain range. So this high up location on the slopes of the Olifants mountain mean you get quite dry conditions that lend themselves to low yielding and a range of varietals grown here. The winemaker here is Elisma Visser, fantastically talented winemaker. She has been awarded the Up and Coming Winemaker Talent Award by Tim Atkin before, for example. Who is excellent at capturing, she's great at capturing the locality, the terroir, the geology of the location. She's also minimal intervention and more natural winemaking. Whole berry ferment again here, so this aligns itself to the previous wine by Bruce Jack in open top fermenters, but with more extensive oak aging here, 10 months in French oak feutres, the previous wine only being 20% of the wine. Lower alcohol here, so picking earlier at 12.5% at that cooler conditions due to altitude. And this sits about £20, so just a little bit more expensive from the Fine Wine Company again, and Corking Wines. A little bit more colour here, so medium rupee with a hint of garnet, and that's because of the 4 years age behind this now. Lovely intensity, both with some concentration and aromatic, so medium plus or pronounced in its intensity. The development here certainly is developing again because we are expressive with some tertiary compounds. I got violet here, geranium coming through, backed up with some lavender, these kind of purple edges. Raspberry, red plum, pomegranate, that little bit of sweet but little bit of bitterness to it. A hint of blackcurrant and blackberry on the more slightly underripe side, but very, very pleasing. Hint of kirsch, which is that kind of concentration of this. Eucalypt and mint aromatic, and a bit of that minerality again. And it's actually quite good that you can find some whetstone or minerality, and this is in these slightly more delicate expressions, which are showcasing lower alcohols and a bit more of a saltiness that may come from oceanic influence, like on the previous wine, or by mountainside influence. There's a sweetness here, a bit of vanilla, a bit of spice, clove, hints of coconut, toast, cedar, chocolate, coffee, and resinous with this leather, wet leaf, and meatiness that comes through. There is a lot to talk about here of excitement through those three major areas of primary, secondary, and tertiary. Bone dry, good acidity at medium plus, more structural component to this around medium plus again. This should not say high alcohol, it's medium alcohol. I apologize for that, I should say medium. With a body here being about medium plus, flavour intensity medium plus, and the finish should be actually here as long. Same sort of characteristics that we got on the nose, that is copy and paste on the primary, secondary, and tertiary. I think this is a very good wine, which has great potential to age as well. Exceptionally good wine, this one. Well worth looking out for. Next up is the Simonsig Family Vineyards Redhill. So this is Pinotage again, 2021 vintage, so the same as the Olifantsberg. This is actually now from Stellenbosch. So we go across the Olifants mountain, through Paarl, over the Simonsberg Stellenbosch, and into Stellenbosch. From the estate of Simonsig on red soils, what they call coffee clip. And this is 20% whole cluster, 2-day cold soak, and only 6-day maceration on skins, but with much more emphasis on aging here. So 18 months in 70% new French oak, 30% second fill in this example. So this is more of a sort of traditional style of Pinotage in its makeup, but really with meticulous attention to detail in sorting in the vineyard. As we mentioned, there are manual punch downs every 2 hours to give a short but intensive extraction. Malolactics in barrel as well. This is found at about 25, 26 pounds, 14% alcohol from Lecker Wines, Capreo and Best Biltong. This is medium garnet in its appearance, medium plus and developing on the nose. And you've got more age coming through here. A little bit of orange peel I found, raspberry, strawberry, cherry plum with a bit of bramble note to it, eucalypt mint and that white pepper element. Really quite lovely. Now for me, I think the coffee clip soils have a part to play here because there's more age in comparison to the Olifantsberg. The Olifantsberg that you had before was high altitude, and that's going to give you a bit more salt, freshness and longevity in the aging. This has got a bit more density behind it, and it's oxidizing a bit quicker because of this coffee clip soils, these iron-based soils, which are giving more savory notes. And that's why I've got leather, forest floor, earth, tobacco, wet leaves, savory, meatiness, tar, and a little bit of almond notes to it. Yes, it's oaky, so vanilla, clove, cedar, smoke on this one. A little bit more of those haunting traditional Pinotage characters with that tar, meaty and smoky character coming through. On the palate, dry, medium plus acidity. Now, if you don't know, I put down ranges. You can't as a student. You need to put down one or the other. Tannins are high and structural, medium plus are high, with high alcohol, full body, pronounced flavour intensity, and a long length. It's rather complex. We copy and paste the primary, secondary, and tertiary from the nose to the palate. So you can pause this, of course, to tick these off on your tasting note. Really great wine. I think this is outstanding. I actually think the Olifantsberg before was outstanding as well. For some reason, it only said very good, but I would probably be arm twisted to select outstanding for that as well. But this has very much possibility for aging, being a younger Pinotage with a lot of structural tanning and density behind it. Next up is the Rijk's Fine Estate Private Cellar Pinotage from the 2020 vintage. This is from Tulbach, which is a wine of origin that sits around the Ceres Plateau, north of areas like Paarl, for example. So much more inland again for this expression. This is a low-yielding, well-drained, vertical shale and schist vineyard site, which yields only around 6 tons per hectare, so really at the lower end of the spectrum. And it's a west, northwest, and east aspect vineyard site. We have a 2-day cold soak. There are punch downs 3 times a day. Skins were gently pressed before being fermented dry, and mallow was in barrels, but matured even longer here. 22 months, 60% French, 40% American, and 40% of those barrels were new, 30% were second fill, and 30% third fill. This is towards £30, more alcohol from the private cellar. So here you are. This certainly is towards deep, and I would say this is kind of ruby or garnet on its colour. Pronounced, lots of concentration, but I would not put this down as youthful. It should be developing. Sorry, the slide is not showing that. Lots of concentration here. So yes, it has this violet and geranium. There's red fruits in here, raspberry, strawberry, red plum, kirsch, jamminess, and baked and stewed fruits. Lavender, mint, rosemary, and thyme. So this garrigi note. Black pepper, licorice spice comes through. So there's a bit more intensity coming through with these. I haven't put through the secondary characteristics here, rather annoyingly, but I will tell you these from my tasting notes. So you'll have to write these ones down. Here we go. So this is the Rijk's. Here you go. So this one is certainly on its secondary characteristics: cedar, vanilla, chocolate, coffee, and resinous. And then it has bottle aged tobacco, leather, cinnamon characteristics, and a bit meaty as well. I found this dry with medium plus acid. I found it medium plus or high tannin, high alcohol, full body, medium plus intensity, and medium plus finish. We copy and paste those characteristics from the nose, the primary, secondary, and tertiary. And I think this wine is a very good wine. It certainly has ability to age as well. My final wine is the excellent Spier 21 Gables, Spier being a part of the Ad Vini group, brought into the UK by Fractionet Copestick and stocked by Slurp, £26 at 14.3% alcohol. So this is sourced from weathered granite soils on the southern side of Stellenbosch. You get a bit of clay in there as well. The vines overlook False Bay, planted in 2006, enjoying moderate temperatures with cold evenings. Spier, pick on taste. Please do look out for my winemaker interview on this. And they wait for the tannins to soften. And they also stagger their picking dates. Hand picking, and then partially natural ferment, and then inoculated with the rest, about 15% partial. And that's to create complexity here. Aged in about 60% new, 40% second fill French, US, and Hungarian oak. And this is the 2017 vintage. Now, I found this sort of medium to deep garnet, this wine. I've got the wine right here. So medium to deep garnet. I found this actually pronounced and actually more towards fully developed on this. So please do look out for that. I know it says different on your slide. We are looking here at the wine having a lovely amount of characteristics. So I found it here, touch of violet, but actually more of the sort of a bit of black fruit. I think you'll find that little bit of things like black currant, blackberry, bramble, a little bit of black cherry, still full of red fruits. I've got raspberry, red cherry, and strawberry, a touch of raisin, eucalyptus, mint, and lavender for sure, a little bit medicinal. Licorice comes through as well. Certainly, it has vanilla, cloves, and cedar-based characteristics, pine, resin, smoke, toast, cigar, and even nutmeg comes through with a hint of chocolate as well. A little bit of tar, but then with this kind of wet leaf, forest floor, meaty, earthy character, mushroom, black truffle, cinnamon, dried rose, and tobacco. I also found a little bit of almond and marzipan here. So it doesn't, what I'm saying doesn't necessarily correlate to the slide, unfortunately. Dry, medium plus acidity is correct. Medium plus tannin, so you can drop that one down by one. High alcohol, medium plus or full bodied. Pronounced flavor intensity and a long length, so you can notch that one to the right for the finish. Copy and paste please on the nose to the palate, and actually I'll put this down as an outstanding wine, so you can actually highlight outstanding here, but I could age this certainly as well. Okay, that brings us to the end of the presentation, looking at that first presentation on the story of Pinotage and the second presentation on the selection of wines tasted. Please do join me for interviews of some of these producers that we've just gone through, plus others around the wines of Pinotage from South Africa. Please do join me for those. Any comments or questions, please do get in touch. You can do so by leaving your comment or question below. But if you do find yourself in the UK, come and say hello for a glass, or bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now.